What's going on, everyone? Pucks and Brews is back. I am your host, Michael Shades Sparacino, alongside, as always, Liam Go Time Godimer. I remembered this time. And it is Stanley Cup Final time. Best time of the year. Right, Liam?
It certainly is, and thank you for the correct go time welcome. I appreciate that. Like you said, Stanley Cup Final is upon us. The puck drops tonight. We are, of course, recording on Tuesday, June 2nd at around 10 a.m. to get
10:40 a.m. at this particular time.
10:40 a.m. and the Vegas Golden Knights take on the Carolina Hurricanes in Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final tonight at the Lenovo Center in Raleigh, North Carolina. Shades, I'm excited. It's going to be a great series and a non-stressful series because the Rangers are not in there, and I have pretty much no rooting interest in this series. So, at least for me, which always makes it fun to
I,
watch hockey in the playoffs.
well, before I get into that, I deserve a reward for getting your name right. I'm going to take a sip of my cold brew. Ah.
Reward well deserved.
Just had a donut, got some cold brew, little podcasting. Not a bad start to a Tuesday.
Good morning, indeed.
And the Stanley Cup final begins tonight. So it's going to be a good Tuesday.
Yes, it is.
Now, unlike you, I do have a rooting interest, money-wise. I'll be more specific. I need the Knights to win, and I need the Knights to win bad.
All right. Little wager on Vegas, huh?
You could say that.
Little wager, a lot of wager. Well,
Uh, at by the end of the day, I will have 200 straight up on them. And
serious?
yeah, 200 straight up on two different sports books. And also, I made a DraftKings account, so they stagger their bonus bets when you sign up for the current promo. Instead of giving you a straight 100, it's 425s. So I'm just like Vegas in four, Vegas in five, Vegas in six, Vegas in seven. So I need them to
Smart.
win bad
All right.
because I
I have,
have zero faith in Carolina.
I have no financial investment as of yet. Of course, that could change prior to the puck dropping on tonight's game, but I think this is evenly matched, and I think we're going to get a real competitive series no matter who comes out on top, Shades.
I'm not sure if it's going to be too competitive.
Well, we can
We'll get
agree
into
there. That's
back
why we
into
have a
this. We'll
podcast.
get back into this in a couple minutes, but you are wearing your Rangers shirt, so if you don't put at least like $5 down on Brett Howden to get a goal, I'll be
Oh,
slightly
I
disappointed.
I'll tell you, I'll put my house on Brett Howden to score a goal, during the series. He might even score the first goal for Vegas in the series. Don't be surprised if Brett Howden just scores 3 minutes in shorthanded. Watch that happen. Howden shorthanded 3 minutes in.
I mean,
Uh,
guy's a machine.
Guy is a machine, and he is Shades. He is a playoff player for sure. His
Oh yeah.
style is towards playing this type of year. So.
Oh, absolutely. All right, so before we get into the Stanley Cup final, we had the unfortunate news of the passing of Claude Lemieux, and you never ever want to hear what happens to him, but you never know what a person is going through behind the scenes. 2 days earlier, he was at the Canadiens game, and this was a sad one.
Yeah, he was carrying the torch prior to the last Canadians home playoff game this year, or I believe maybe Halak got the next one, but he was one of the last ones. Obviously, a legend within that organization. I mean, I know we don't have to talk about the specifics too much, but if you need help, ask for help because I can tell you, speaking just to Shades, just because he's across from me. Like if he ever needed me, like I'm a phone call away, like I'm a text away. And I'm sure that a whole bunch of your friends, your family, if you're watching this and you're struggling, are willing to do the same. So the NHL really lost an absolute legend in Claude Lemieux. My heart is with his entire family, especially Brendan, who played with the Rangers. Um, and I hope their family is able to find strength through this incredibly difficult time. And I hope, Claude, even though he was going through his struggles, appreciated watching his Canadians really make a nice run. But it's a shame what happened, and my condolences are with his entire family during this tough time. And the NHL really lost a good one. And I feel sad for Freddie Anderson too, which I think is definitely an interesting subplot into all of this. Claude Lemieux was Freddie Anderson's agent, and after Carolina clinched the Eastern Conference, we heard the emotions flood from Freddie, who really loved Claude. So really an impactful person on and off the ice, and we're gonna miss him, and it's very sad. And if you need help, ask for help because there are so many people wanting to hear what you're going through, and we don't want to see this as the end result. This is rock bottom. So terrible to hear, terrible to see, and hope we can move on. And yeah, very difficult time for everybody in the hockey family.
Could not have said it any better myself. Rest in peace, Claude Lemieux. Hopes and prayers, as Liam said, to Brendan and the entire Lemieux family. And, well, I mean, it would be a nice story for Carolina to win now, because of
Yep.
the relationship that he had with Freddie Anderson. So that'd be a nice little story.
Absolutely. So Claude will be missed. And once again, you can never say it too many times. There's suicide awareness hotlines that you can call, and there's friends and family who are always, always willing to hear you out and want to hear you out because they want you here with us.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, we just had both Eastern and Western Conference Finals in the NHL.
Sir.
Didn't exactly go the way we thought it would,
Mhm.
especially in the Western Conference, because the Vegas Golden Knights ended up sweeping the Colorado Avalanche to the surprise of pretty much literally everyone, including Vegas fans. And on the Eastern Conference, Carolina not only finally gets a win in the Eastern Conference, although they got one last time, they get two wins in the Eastern Conference. They win the whole thing, and they're going to the Stanley Cup Final. And it is legitimately amazing that this stat existed. They were literally 1-17 in their last 18. I love how I had to do math on that real quick. Their last 18 Eastern Conference final games dating back to 2009 after the game one loss to Montreal.
Yeah. It's wild,
It,
wild stuff.
like I literally saw that and went, there's no way. And then, thinking back, well, they
Right.
did get swept in '09. This is their third trip or fourth trip back to the Eastern Conference Final, I believe. They lost, you know, 12 more games, winning one, and I'm just like, wow.
Yeah. No doubt about it.
It's incredible too, because have they lost a first round series since Brind'Amour took over as coach?
Oh goodness. Now I got to do some quick math in my head. When was the
If they
last?
have, it's only been one, right?
Well, I remember the year after Washington won the cup, Carolina took them down in seven in the first round. I remember being surprised.
Yes. That
And I
was a good
remember
series.
that was a very good series. And it was really a sign of things to come kind of for the Metro. But I don't know. I guess I'll just have to fact check that. But I would assume that Rod Brind'Amour was not the coach the last time that Carolina lost in the first round. And now doing some research, the last time they did lose a first round series was in 2020, back in the bubble. If you want to count that, they lost
Oh,
in
hold
five.
on.
They
Was
lost
it
a
the actual first round or was it the play-in round?
no, they beat the Rangers in the play-in round in the bubble.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Thanks for bringing that one up.
And then fell to Boston in 5 games. That was Keandre Miller's debut, and now he's a Hurricane. Funny enough. And Henrik Lundqvist, his last game, played in the bubble.
That
Jacob Slavin beat him short side, high glove, and from an impossible angle from a defensive defenseman that made me want to throw up watching hockey on my TV during COVID. But
that
um,
wasn't what made me want to throw up. What made me want to throw up was the way the Rangers showed up in those three games, but I
yeah, I'll bring one
digress.
more memory to you. That was a series where Jesper Fast got taken out. Remember in the first game?
Oh
Was it
yeah.
Brady
Yeah,
Shea
that's
that came out with a headhunter?
Yeah,
Man, the
and
Bucks,
that
what a
yeah, that changed the tone of the entire series. But if I will always say this, if one middle of the lineup player, let's call it, that's what he was. He wasn't a superstar first line guy.
he wasn't.
But yeah, that I'm just keeping it real here. If you
He
lose a
was
middle
important.
of the lineup guy
Yeah,
and the entire locker room crumbles, that team was never going to win in the first place.
I don't disagree. And the bubble was a weird time, especially when you go back to why we initially started talking about this. Carolina lost in 5 games to Boston, and we saw kind of the direction that both of those teams went after the bubble. Boston just got to the Stanley Cup Final, and then they've gone on a downturn, and Carolina finally gets over the hump this year as we circle back to their time in the Stanley Cup Final against Vegas this year. So very interesting, but it's been quite a while, 6 years since they've lost in round one.
Very interesting indeed. And, Carolina actually wins the series in five. We were joking around in the group chat before the series, Canes in four. I was being 95% serious while 5% joking. And then after the series played out, I'm like, okay, that actually wasn't the worst prediction in the world.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be a clean sweep. No 95-5 on my end. I was 100% for the Hurricanes to really stomp the Canadians into the ground. But Shades, I'll go back to what you said at the beginning of the podcast, right? The Hurricanes have struggled during the conference finals.
Right.
You knew that they were going to lose game one at home, even if they were going to win the series. You knew that they were going to put something in the back of our minds saying, yeah, hey, we're going to do it again. We're gonna do it again. And I know a lot of us thought that they were going to fold, and they didn't. The better team ended up advancing to the Stanley Cup Final. I think the Habs kind of arrived a couple of years too early, in my opinion, although they have a very, very, very bright future.
Yes.
But this was the Hurricanes' chance to pounce, and they did. So credit to them. They
Yeah,
needed to.
yeah, you were absolutely spot on with everything you just said. Montreal definitely, arguably, should not have made it out of the first round. I called that they would, though. I'm taking credit for that one. They are arguably also should not have beaten Buffalo, especially on the shot that they won the series on. Again, I digress, but absolutely, they were definitely too early, and they were definitely not ready to win if you watched how that series played out.
Exactly. And I think Buffalo wins that series if they have a goaltender. I mean, nothing against UPL, but even if it's Devin Levi in there, soft goal that cost them a game seven.
Yep.
So I agree with you, and I would even go back to the first round to agree with your first point. I don't think they should have beaten Tampa Bay to begin with, but they
Yeah,
did. And shout out to you for predicting that. But yeah, they arrived too early. But they are going to be a force to be reckoned with very, very soon. I'm impressed with that team. From St. Louis to Dobish, they're good.
I mean, they definitely need to make some improvements on the roster. But if you like, you didn't even have to watch both of their first and second round series. All you had to do was watch game seven of each of those two series, and
Mhm.
then pretty much anything after game one of the conference final to tell you exactly where Montreal was. Like, they showed us who they were, and they rightfully got pounced in 5 games.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to forget, right, that the Hurricanes had an 11-day layoff before the Eastern Conference Final began. Now, that can either help you or that can hurt you. And then in game one, right, Montreal comes out flying after a game seven high energy win against the Buffalo Sabres on the road. They win by 4 goals in game one. So for me, when you combine the layoff with the fact that Montreal was li riding high, entering the game, I'm not really surprised by game one. But like you said, Carolina pounced, from then on out. But don't forget, game two and game three were both decided in overtime. Those are both 1-goal games. Then game four, that's when Carolina really played a Carolina game when they sw when they
Well, I mean, well, game two was more so Montreal started off great and then fell off a cliff. Carolina just couldn't score.
Yeah, Nikolai Ehlers stepped up twice, but yes, both in the clutch. They struggled throughout regulation there. But for game four, that's where the series really switched for me when Carolina shut out Montreal, when they really went into that defensive zone that they are so astute at doing. They went 4-0 in game four, then 6-1 in game five. They won the series in game four for me. And the series turned in game two, like you said, when maybe they didn't deserve to win the game, but they did. And they had, the best offensive player on the ice, at least in my opinion, in Nikolai Ehlers, and Sebastian Aho, and Ehlers scored the overtime winner. So that was a really fun series, though. I really enjoyed it. And it was a lot closer than 5 games. So
Yeah, and
shout out
then
to
yeah, exactly. And then, Carolina just demolishes everybody, Philly, and
yeah.
who they play in the second round? But
What was your question?
who did they play in the second round again?
Carolina swept Philly in the second round.
Oh, right, that was the second round. Sorry. Who'd they play in the
Carolina
first round again? Ottawa.
swept swept Ottawa right out of the playoffs.
Yeah, so while it was an easy road to the conference final, it was a pretty easy road overall to the Stanley Cup final for them. And they are 12-1 heading into the Stanley Cup final. And on the flip side, in the West, Vegas, Jesus Christ. Like I said, nobody saw this coming.
Yeah, this was a stunner, and for me, the series changed before it started. When Cale Makar did not play game one, that's when, as an Avs fan, morning lights, may have gone on. But let's make no bones about it, Shades. Game one, Ball Arena, tough place to play in Colorado. That was a statement win for Vegas. 4-2 win on the road, stealing home ice advantage, right? Right away from the Avalanche. Then once they do that, Colorado doesn't have home ice advantage anymore. They don't have their best defenseman anymore. I'm not convinced that Nathan McKinnon was 100% healthy watching him, just in my opinion. And then Vegas takes game two. And then once Vegas takes game two and then they're going back home, with the way Torts has them playing,
Right.
I mean, this is classic John Tortorella hockey, and everybody's buying in. And Shades, one more thing. It's going to be a bold statement, but I don't really think it's a bold statement because I think the numbers speak for themselves. But it's really a crazy thing to say after last year. The best player in this year's playoffs is Mitch Marner. And if this series goes 7 games between the Hurricanes and Vegas, even if the Golden Knights lose, I could see Marner winning the Conn Smythe. That's how good he's been.
Oh, absolutely.
I love
He's
McDavid.
been their best player.
He's been their best player. So, when he gets all that criticism from his time in Toronto, you can't get it done. First year outside of the Maple Leafs, they're in the Stanley Cup Final and they might as well win it. Yeah, and sweeping Colorado, that's something that nobody expected. And for me, Shades, number one thing I'll take away from that, the fact that they swept the Avalanche, Utah and Anaheim put up more of a fight than Colorado did without Makar. Makes you wonder, the Central and the Pacific kind of, how strong are the Ducks? Like they took Vegas to six. Utah took Vegas to six. I think they deserve a little bit of credit there. And then when you look at the Central, well, Colorado got swept by Vegas, and Colorado beat Minnesota in five. So what does that tell you? So
And
very
Minnesota,
interesting.
we all thought was the second best team in the West.
Oh, maybe even the third. A lot of people argued the second best team in the West were the Dallas Stars, and guess what? They bounced down to Minnesota in six.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a wild Western Conference this year.
Makes me wonder if Dallas or Minnesota had matched up with Vegas, would it have been the same result? And I think it just might have been.
Very well could have been.
Wild, wild playoffs this year.
Yeah.
Um, Really tough to put my finger on exactly the pulse of this postseason right now.
Yeah, I forgot that Makar was even going to be out because I got home from work after game one. I believe I tuned in the third period and they mentioned Makar's out, and I'm like, oh crap, he was out?
I did not know he was out either. And then he tried to come back, right, in game four, I believe. But by that point,
Series was over.
series was over.
Now, you did bring up uh Gerard Bednar's quote in the group chat. I do want to touch upon this. He said Kale can come back if he wants to come back, and you sent that in the group chat, and we're like, what are our thoughts on this? What are our thoughts on this? English. And I was just like, that's a very interesting quote. Is he really hurt, or was it more so he was hurt but could have played through it? Or could it have just been referring to something else regardless that we're not aware of.
Yeah, I mean, Shades, he didn't pull any punches after the sweep, and his frustrations with the injury situation, especially regarding Cale Makar, was pretty evident. And when Bednar was asked about the physical toll, like on his star players and Makar's status specifically, he offered like a brutally honest take that essentially boiled down to if a player of that caliber says he can skate, you let him skate. And for me, Bednar noted that at this time of year, the medical staff has to give the clearance, but ultimately it's up to the player. I mean, I don't love it from the head coach,
Hmm.
to be honest. Like if the player's telling you he can't play, there's no reason to continue to throw it back in his face. Like I trust Cale Makar as one of the best, if not the best defenseman in this league to know what he can push his body through and what he cannot. And it's not up to the head coach to tell me whether I can play or not. I don't know. I don't know. If Kale couldn't play, I 100% wholeheartedly believe that he was not in well enough condition to play. And that quote from the head coach tells me that he's putting pressure on his star to come back prematurely so he has a better chance to win the series. And I don't like that. A player's career is not worth one season or one postseason run. We didn't find out what happened with Makar, but if Makar came back prematurely and took one hit to that area, you never know. It could end his career. So I don't like the quote. I don't. I understand what he was saying, but if I'm Cal McCarr, I kind of look at that and I'm shaking my head a little bit.
Yeah, at least he didn't hurt his knee while he was in the bathroom, like the Instagram reel I sent you guys the other night, which was
Yeah.
hilarious.
But I will give Bednar credit here. He was adamant that losing four straight is straight up failure of execution and not bad luck because you don't have two players in the lineup. He did credit Vegas for being healthier, heavier, and ultimately the hungrier team over those four games. So, he didn't throw it all on Makar, but he didn't make it easy on his superstar defenseman either, to face some of the ridicule that might have been coming from the media and or the fan base after the sweep.
Yeah. So yeah, Colorado is going to have a very interesting offseason. I wouldn't be surprised if there is a change or two made behind the bench, but that's more of an episode or a topic for an episode following the Stanley Cup Final. So we'll get back to that over the summer because we'll be back. Don't worry. We're not abandoning you guys. We'll be back.
100%. We'll be here always.
All right. Stanley Cup Final predictions time. I If you've been listening to the episode, you know exactly who I'm predicting and who I'm rooting for. I'm gonna go Vegas in five because I I think Vegas is by far the better team and they're just playing significantly better. But Anderson has been playing very well for the Hurricanes. I think he does enough to steal one game, but that's about it. Because top to bottom, I think Vegas is by far the better team.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Hurricanes in six. I disagree. I think the Canes are the better team. A couple of things to back that up here. Let's look at the playoff record and the quality of opponents. Quality of opponents you can definitely give to Vegas. I think it was a little tougher out
By
there in the
far.
conference. But the Hurricanes are also 12-1. When you look at Corsi ratings, possession, 58.8%. That's first in the NHL.
Yeah, they're
44.9%.
they're kings of Corsi, but
The goaltenders, I'd say they're evenly matched, but Freddie Anderson is having the better of the run. I don't think Carter Hart should be playing in the Stanley Cup final, but that's besides the point. Logan Stankoven and Taylor Hall absolutely producing like absolute monsters. You've even admitted to me, how good Stankoven is as a postseason player. I don't think that's going to change. Taylor Hall, it's easy to forget that he's a former league MVP. He's been really good this year. Hurricanes, though, cold power play. Got to get the power play up if you're going to beat the Vegas Golden Knights because they are tough defensively and you're not going to score at even strength too much. But dominant PK for Vegas, also matched by Vegas, who also has a dominant PK. It's going to be a great series, but I just think for me, when you combine the possession numbers, Freddie Anderson, and the rosters, I think that the deeper team and the better team are the Carolina Hurricanes. But the coaching definitely does raise an interesting scenario because John Tortorella, his style tends to lend to success once he takes over a new team, and we've definitely seen it. And if Carolina is not ready to go from the jump tonight, and if they struggle out of the gate like they did against Montreal, I'm not sure if Vegas is going to give them the room to get them back up like Montreal, a very young and inexperienced team, did to the Hurricanes. So I'm going to say that the Canes win in six, but it's on the caveat that they come out and they play the right way from the start of the series tonight. Because if they don't, they will lose.
I'm going to go completely against your analytics point here, just based on what I was able to watch from the Canadians and Hurricane series. I saw a team in the Carolina Hurricanes that was dominating the Montreal Canadiens team, and they still somehow proceeded to look terrible on ice. Again, you've brought up the Corsi and the possession metrics, but then you actually watch them play over the course of a season, and especially this gets a lot more of an emphasis come playoff time. They throw everything and anything at the net, but a lot of it is just empty shots just to get pucks towards the net, looking for deflections, a bad goal here and there, etc. I don't know. It just, from what I was able to watch, like you said, road twos, Vegas came out and beat, the Ducks heading into the conference final. I mean, they were able to take advantage of Colorado missing McCarr, and then, McKinnon got hurt later in the series. But I saw a bet. I thought the Avalanche team was significantly better than the Canadians, and Vegas put a pounding down on them. And like I just said, Carolina dominated Montreal, and I still was looking at them as a team. They're not winning, my
Well,
opinion.
I look at Carolina, two team or a team that has come off of two sweeps out of the three series that they've played in so far. And I look at Vegas, who are taken to six games by both Utah and Anaheim, who have not been in the playoffs. Well, Utah ever. I mean, if you go back to the Coyotes, it's been a while, and if you go back for the Ducks, it's also been a while.
Yeah, the
So
Ducks have a good team, though.
the Ducks do have a good team, but they're also young and they're also inexperienced. And I also will note on one thing that you just touched on, Shades, and that's the fact that Colorado didn't have Makar, and towards the end of the series, they didn't have McKinnon. I think that's a really big deal. And I'm not taking anything away from Vegas, but I think if you take Shea Theodore and Jack Eichel off of the Vegas Golden Knights, I think Colorado is probably doing the same thing right back to them. So that's my counter. I'm gonna stick with the Hurricanes in six. Hurricanes, they're entirely healthy. Vegas hasn't really faced a team that's been entirely healthy so far. They don't beat themselves. And Anderson and Hart, I do think, again, like it's mano y mano, but I think the Hurricanes are going to win in six. I think Freddie Anderson is going to be your Conn Smythe winner. But for me, I just think the Hurricanes are just deeper. I mean, Aho and Jarvis and Blake and Robinson and Svechnikov, and Stankoven and Taylor Hall and Slavin, best defensive defenseman in the league. Like they have depth for days. Chatfield, I understand what you're saying. They didn't look great against Montreal early on, but I think towards the end of the series, which is what matters when you're taking momentum into account, I think they were easily the better team. First two games on home ice, you can make an argument that Montreal were the better team. You definitely could. Definitely game one. But for the rest of the series, when the series shifted on the road, I think that's when Carolina really took it over. But I wouldn't be surprised if this goes seven games, and I don't think either of us are really going to be wrong in any of our takes. I think that's how good of a series it's going to be. I think we're going to see everything thrown at the wall by each of these teams, and at the end of the day, the better team's going to come out on top and hoist the Stanley Cup. But I like when we disagree. It makes for fun podcasting.
It does. I mean, absolutely, Freddie Anderson gets I'm more biased that he's the better goalie at the moment. So, advantage Hurricanes on that one. But I don't know. With the way Vegas is playing, Marner's hot or on fire, Howden on fire, Hurdle finally started scoring. Like you said, they still got Eichel. They're doing all of this without Alex Petrangelo,
Mhm.
which
They have
that's
Stoneback.
impressive.
They have Stoneback and Howden that we talked about earlier on in the podcast. He's been playing really well too. I really don't want to take anything away from Vegas. I really don't. They're a really good team and they're really well coached. And if there's one coach for me that could really go head to head with Rod Brind'Amour, it's Torts. So,
In
you
more
know,
than one way.
in more than one way, indeed. But I just think it's poetic that it's been 20 years, right, since the Hurricanes, have been in the Stanley Cup Final and won the Stanley Cup, and for Rod Brind'Amour to be the Conn Smythe winner that year, and lead his team, you know, now be the head coach 20 years later would be pretty cool.
So I found out an interesting tidbit that Carolina still has 11 million in cap space. So yeah, they might be able to do some damage next year too.
Oh, and that Keandre Miller guy is pretty good.
Yeah, that ended up working out pretty well for them. What we'll see what happens on the Rangers end, but I digress.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, you got a first round pick out of it, never know.
All right, so you got Vegas, excuse me, you got Canes in six, I got Vegas in five. All right, we'll see what happens.
Lock it in.
All I know is if the Hurricanes win, I'm going to be have a lot of money this week.
And I did get something wrong there. Rod Brind'Amour was not the Conn Smythe winner in 2006. That was Cam Ward. But, Brind'Amour, big part of that Stanley Cup final. Just wanted to correct myself.
Yes, he was. All right, well, th nice and short episode today. That's all we got. Uh, good luck to everybody, playing in the Stanley Cup final. Good luck to everyone betting on the Stanley Cup final, because God knows I'm going to need a lot of good luck on that end. And
I might match your $200 and just put it on the Cane Shades. That'll create for good commentary, huh?
oh
You
God,
know? $200 on the Canes, flat out,
we'll be going off in the group chat.
in the series.
All
Oh,
right.
man.
Anyway, this has been episode 82 of Pucks and Brews. I am your host, Michael Shades Faracino, alongside, as always, Liam Goat Time Godimer. Please like and subscribe, YouTube, Spotify, all the platforms we're on. And we'll catch everyone post Stanley Cup final. See ya.